Today we will learn about writing an introduction and its component and how to write an research introduction. The introductory paragraph is the first paragraph for the introduction writing, which is hook your reader, and the lecture objectives are: what is an introduction, how to write an introduction, the opening paragraph of an introduction, five basic parts of the opening paragraph, detailed outline of the remainder of an introduction. An introduction may be many different things depending on the writing you are doing. An introduction has four parts in an empirical paper: a research proposal and a research article. Introduce first your topic, review the literature of your topic, and rationale or significance of the topic. States your research question, hypothesis, or objectives in lastly. What is an introduction? Students often ask about what is the difference between an introduction and a literature review. The answer is the literature review is a part of your introduction. It is likely to be the largest, most important part. An introduction should be start or begin with thundering and hook the reader and grabs their attention. Introduction has a funnel shape from general to specific. Literature. Explain why the research question is important and interesting. Only cite the most relevant previously published work. Look at the length of the introduction, maximum 15 to 20% of the total word count. Point out existing gap in current scientific knowledge. Explain how your study fills these gaps. Use clear, clean, and unemotional language. Mention particular strengths of your study. Proposed solution will advance the field and important for future work. Try to use active verbs. Should be careful, for you should not understand that your reviewer will be familiar with your subject. Not to overstate the literature, should be in layman language, should reflect a sober self-confidence. References: how many? 15 to 20. Which ones? Within 5 years. Use key article as a role of models. Use small length sentences. How do you write an introduction? An introduction to research paper is medical have many formats. In this session, You will learn one format as you go. One in research writing, you may modify, change, or completely overlook this format. The purpose of presenting this one format is to give you a general starting point. The outline of an introduction. Here is a very broad outline. The first one is opening paragraph, then review of the literature and rational significance of the topic, and the fourth one is summary paragraph and a statement of research question, hypothesis, or objectives. How to write an opening paragraph of an introduction. The opening paragraph is the key paragraph, lets the reader know what to expect. It gives the reader a general roadmap for your paper. It may mention in paper you will review in more detail later. For a very long paper, it may be more than one paragraph. In the opening paragraph includes five basic pieces of information, usually in this order: a statement of the journal topic, a journal statement about what the literature has found, a journal statement of the study approach, a statement about what the literature is missing or where there is an unanswered question or rationale of the study, a more specific statement of the study. Consider an example for an opening paragraph. We search this article: awareness of diabetes mellitus among diabetic patients in the Gambia, a strong case for health education and promotion. After searching this paper, we download or open full article, background of the article. For this study, awareness of diabetes mellitus among diabetic patients in the Gambia, diabetes mellitus has emerged as one of the most challenging public health problems in the 21st century. It currently affects over 366 million people worldwide, and this figure is likely to double by 2030. The greatest burden of this condition is felt in low and middle income countries, and these nations account for about 80% of the all cases of diabetes. In sub-Saharan Africa alone, there are about 12 million people suffering from this condition, and there are projections that this number will reach 18 million by 2030, making the region the one with the fastest growing rates of diabetes mellitus in the world. In the Gambia, for instance, the incidence of DM has been projected to increase by threefold within this period. That is from 2020, that is from 22,000 cases in in 2012 to 61,000 by 2030. There are the references for this paragraph. Here 5 references. Notes on the example we use for opening paragraph. The first statement of opening paragraph, a statement of the general topic, diabetes mellitus (DM) has emerged as one of the most challenging public health problems in the 21st century. The notes is the statement is general but not too general. It is not a sweeping statement. The statement is empirical. It is a statement of research finding, not an opinion. The second sentence for opening paragraph, a statement about what the literature has found. It currently affects over 366 million people worldwide, and this figure is likely to double by the 2030. The note is this is the more specific than your first statement. It introduces the reader to the specific area you are interested in. Tell currently figure and predicted outcomes by 2030. It includes a citation which you will review in more detail later in the introduction. The third statement of the opening paragraph, a statement about what the literature available on this region or where there is an unanswered question. The greatest burden of this condition is felt in low and middle income countries, and these nations account for about 80% of the cases of diabetes. Note: this statement is a construct with the previous statement. It says larger portion of this burden was present in low and middle income countries. It introduces the idea that there is an unanswered question to be explored. It includes a citation which will be reviewed in the more detail later in the paper. The fourth statement of the opening paragraph, a statement about more specific what says literature. In sub-Saharan Africa alone, there are about 12 million people suffering from this condition, and there are projections that this number will reach 18 million by 2030, making the region the one with the fastest growing rates of diabetes mellitus in the world. Note: this tells the reader generally what your study is about. The statement is a contrast. The statement is a contrast with the previous statement. It says about a specific region and region having fastest growing states. It says about a specific region and region having fastest growing rates. It introduces the idea that there is an unanswered question to be explored. It includes a citation which will be reviewed in more detail later in the paper. The fifth statement of opening paragraph, a more specific statement of the study approach. In the Gambia, for instance, the incidence of TM has been projected to increase by threefold within this period, that is from 22,000 cases in 2012 to 61,000 by 2030. This tells the reader just a little about your sample population and method, not too much, enough so that the reader understands why you review certain types of articles. What comes after the first paragraph of an introduction or introductory paragraph? The rest of the introduction. Here is a more detailed outline of the rest of the introduction. The general literature, the specific area of focus, the unanswered question in the specific area of focus, the summary and the statement of research question, objective or hypothesis. The journal literature. The purpose of this session is to introduce or remind your reader of any general information about the topic. It should also establish why the topic is important. In some paper, this session may focus especially on an age group, gender or race that shapes the specific topic of interest. It may be a few sentences. The journal literature example. Here is a first two sentences on the journal literature. This silent but imminent public health problem would impose substantial challenges on the healthcare system as well as on the economy of most developing nations in the near future. This is because a significant proportion of individuals who suffer from the condition in these countries are within the reproductive age. The journal literature notes on the example. The example introduces the journal topic of challenges on the healthcare as an influences on reproductive age group. It does not try to argue that reproductive age group is the only one. It establishes that this is important to healthcare, so this is why the reader should care about the topic, not that for some paper this session could be several paragraphs. The specific area of focus. This session builds on the previous session which introduced to general topic. It brings the reader to the specific aspect of the topic the paper is focusing on. It may also be several sentences describe at least one outcome or fulfill this gap in detail. The specific area of focus example. Here is the first two sentences presenting the specific focus. Since most of these specialized centers are not available in many sub-Saharan Africa settings, patient education becomes a central component in the prevention and control of this disease in sub-Saharan Africa. Such education should lead to diet modification, increased physical exercise, and lifestyle changes, including the promotion of weight loss. References are given. The specific area of focus notes. This moves the reader from the general to specific topic of patient education and its outcomes. It established that specific outcomes, increased physical exercise and lifestyle changes, including the promotion of weight loss, are the area of interest of outcome. This session should continue on with additional paragraph. Educational program should help people access their risk of diabetes, motivation them to seek proper treatment. The unanswered question in the specific area of the focus. This section introduces the question you are trying to answer. It usually shows that there is an area of literature that contain question. It may also simply show that the topic at hand has not been explored in particular example or sample. Age groups, ethnicity groups, or geographical areas. In some papers, this will be several sentences. The unanswered question is the specific area of focus. Here we take two sentences introducing the unanswered question. Although the importance of the educational program in the prevention and the control of DM is well recognized, there are concerns whether these programs are achieving the desired goal of increasing awareness of DM in developing countries. Indeed, several studies have consistently shown that awareness of the DM in the general population seems to be low. There are some references. The notes of unanswered question in the specific area of the focus. This introduces the initial idea that educational program influences the prevention and control of DM is actually more complex. It reduces the idea that there is a need to increase awareness of DM in developing countries. It sets the stage for the rest of the session, which would be review literature on the specific group developing countries being examined. The summary of and statement of research question, objectives or hypothesis. This is the last section of the introduction. It summarizes what has been written so far. It states the research question or hypothesis or research objectives. In some ways, it is almost a repeat of the very first paragraph of the whole introduction, but it is more specific. Summary statement of hypothesis or research question example. Here is an example of the final paragraph of the introduction. While the awareness of DM has been documented in many developing countries, very few studies have been done in sub-Saharan Africa. None of these studies, however, was conducted in the Gambia, even though the condition constitutes a major public health problem in the country. Consequently, this study sets out to assess the awareness of DM among patients attending the medical outpatient department of Royal Victoria Teaching Hospital, Banjul. The summary notes is The citation are the same citation used previously in this paper. The paragraph ends with the research objectives. They could also have been hypothesis and a research question or a combination of objective and research hypothesis. Thank you so much.
Please subscribe and like our channel and press bell icon for more videos.